Good morning. Yesterday I made a video talking about going to the Grand Canyon and the difference between all the great stuff that we consume, that we read, that we see, that we hear, that feeds us emotionally versus what we would hear firsthand in our quiet moments when we're walking in nature or just effortlessly riding a bike or sitting still with our eyes closed. That having that direct experience is being at the Grand Canyon versus seeing a wonderful documentary about it or incredible high resolution pictures, that there's a difference. And what sort of struck me after that, I thought about a little last night and expanded on it a little this morning, was that I just noticed for me that how I spend the last hour of my day, oh, and really um, the first hour and the last hour, or even the first half hour and the last half hour, or even the last 15 minutes, um, really makes a difference. You ever notice how the last thing you do, like you're watching a movie and then you go right to bed, or you're watching a movie in bed, and it's suspenseful and there's violence in it. It's like some Jason Bourne movie or something. Again, not that that's wrong. But you notice how if like that's what you finish your day with and go to sleep, you end up having dreams that are like, have some tension and action and whatever. Not all the time, but it's because we're constantly feeding our subconscious. And what we feed it matters. If you're feeding it anger and fear and hatred, like not yet doing those things, but even if you're just watching it, you're feeding it. And I just find that if I come out here, to this awesome deck, and I watch the sunset right over there, the sun is going to rise, right? Well, actually, right about there behind me somewhere. If I spend my time just looking up at the clouds and being aware of the moment, just coming back to my breath, and I have a really peaceful last 20 or 30 minutes of my day, and maybe some aha moments come, or maybe they don't, but I'm just sort of resting and listening, that the next morning it's so much easier to start my day that way. Like I'm just naturally in that state. I'm sort of just calm and peaceful. And then meditating is effortless. And then that feeds, one will feed on the other. And for me, getting a midday or an afternoon asana practice on the mat, I mean, really, really makes a difference. Like, really brings me into that evening time in a calm, peaceful, centered, heart-centered energy, which for me is really important. I don't know about you, But it's easier for me to do the things that feed my soul in the morning. But then as I get to the end of the day, I don't know if it's my body's getting more tired, whatever, but that's when I really feel the draw sometimes to just sort of distract myself with television. Now, I've lived without television for a long time, but now I'm house sitting in a place where there is television. And I'm not saying television is bad. Like right now, the draw for me is really just like the Little League World Series is on, and I like watching it. And I've watched some of it during the day or whatever, maybe while I'm eating lunch. Or yesterday afternoon, I watched a good portion of the New England game, the Rhode Island team that lost, so they're out of it now. But there's a part of me that could watch that until 9 o'clock at night and go to bed. And whereas that isn't, like, I don't have a judgment about that. I know that for me, if I instead go up on this deck at 7:30 and I spend a half an hour up here just looking at the sky and just listening, that one, it's going to feed my soul in a way that the television can't, and in a way that nothing else could, including like some incredibly awesome spiritual movie could. And then, like I said, I'm going to sleep differently. I'm going to get up differently. And so I think a lot of us have a hard time, like when we hear about people getting up early to meditate or getting up early to go for walks. I always talk about first light and dawn, and I have all these pictures I post of the sun, like when it's like barely, not even up yet, like the sky's turning orange, and because it's like 4:30 in the morning, and a lot of people I know just have a hard time imagining doing that on any regular basis. But the discipline isn't really in that for me, it's in how I end my day. I mean, what do I need to be doing after 8 o'clock p.m.? What do I need? What does my soul need to be doing besides sleeping after 8 or 9? For me, it's 8. I like to get 8. I like to get up at like 3:30 or 4 o'clock. But you could go to bed at 9 and get up at 4:30 and have time with yourself at the most special time of day. And I can tell you that what you're going to get from it is far more valuable than anything you could be watching on TV. And there's something, we're connected, right, to nature. We're connected to the natural world. And there is something about being in the rhythm of the earth and of spending time as the day with nature as it's ending, as it's getting dark and it's going to sleep, and then going to sleep, and then getting up when the birds start to sing in the morning and watching the sun come up. And if you were to do that, you'd be plenty tired to go to sleep really early, especially if you didn't like drink coffee during the day. If you were up at, say, even just 5 a.m. every day, and you didn't drink coffee, and you just let your body's own natural serotonin and melatonin regulate you, you would find that it's not hard to go to bed at 8:30 or 9 and get up again and get in that rhythm. You know, one thing that I found really peaceful this morning for me, not on a personal level, but also because as someone who's experienced this, it's in our nature that when we experience something that we find wonderful, we want to share it. And so when I've always thought about, I wanted to have a space where I could have people come on a retreat, what's so peaceful about that now is the idea of what people need has gotten so much simpler. So much simpler. And I would suggest that instead of spending thousands of dollars going to someone else's retreat and listening to someone else, if you just took a couple days, and if you don't live alone, you got away, but if you live alone, you don't have to go anywhere, and you just had some time to yourself, and you honored the beginning and the end of the day in the ways that I've been talking about, and then during the day, when you're away, you have nothing to do, you don't have to work, you just did whatever you wanted to do. And you only ate things that you didn't have to have an argument with yourself about whether you should eat. So whatever that is, for you, maybe that's anything. You don't struggle around it. Great. But if you try to eat really healthy, but then you have inner debates with yourself from time to time, if you just made a commitment, I'm only going to feed myself what I feel great about eating. And I'm going to do what I feel great doing. And you did that for a couple of days. And you spent time with yourself in the morning and the evening. If you squeezed in a little yoga during the day, it'd be even better. But it'd be life-changing. If you could be by the sea or getting some water, a lake somewhere. And you can do all that for very little money. And for some of you, you could do that right where you live now. And then, if you jumpstart that whole process, that sort of lifestyle of, not even meditation, again, not necessarily with your eyes closed, but spending time observing yourself and observing nature in the morning and the evening, and eating in alignment with what your conscience is telling you should eat, your heart, which is different for everybody. You could still work your 9 to 5, or your 7 to 3, or your 8 to 4, or whatever you do. But if you were devoted to ending your day and starting your day that way, and you fed that part of yourself, which I know would mean like a lot less time on social media and a lot less time with television and a lot less time consuming things from outside yourself. I mean, you would still have human interaction at work, I would imagine, for most of us. And you would still be interacting with your family. If your kids are young, they're probably going to bed that early anyway. And if they're not, they're teenagers, well, they're doing a homework or whatever. You don't have to stay up. And they might learn something from your example. Well, they'll learn when it has the effect on you that I think it would have. I'm not telling anyone what to do, just offering something. If it resonates, give it a try. If it doesn't, it's fine. Like anyone else, I just like to share what I know has helped me. It's real simple. Having peace and happiness isn't as complicated as you might tend to think it is. It's not that far out of reach. There may be some addictions you have to let go of to get there, but you can do it. And if you make a firm decision about it, it's not as hard. It won't be as hard as you might think it's going to be. Because when we make firm decisions that are in alignment with our highest path, with our highest purpose, with the greatest expression of ourselves, which is just to be more loving and kind and joyful. When we make those decisions, the universe rises up to meet us and to help us in ways that we can't even imagine. Through people, through great books, opportunities, relationships, jobs, unexpected financial windfalls. You're never alone, even if you're single with no kids and you don't have many friends. You're not alone. All right, I'm going to go to the grocery store because if I go now, it'll be peaceful. I'll be in and out of there. Have a great day. Namaste.